everybody. Happy Wednesday. So, something big happened in those last couple chapters. I think these chapters are going to be real juicy. I'm super excited. So, let's get these notes going so we can get to reading because I think something big is going to happen. Let's do it. Okay. So, I'm going to pick you guys up, bring you over to my notes again. Okay. All right, let me get myself set up here. And let's flip the camera. All right, here you go. So for today, we're reading chapters 99 through 111, and it is May 20th, 2020. Super exciting. And we're going to talk about opinion writing again, because that's something we started last week. We're going to do it again today. Remember, I showed you the Oreo last week. So this week, I just wrote down, what is opinion writing? Its purpose is to convince others to think in a certain way and encourage or persuade readers to share the writer's point of view or thoughts. Okay, so when we're trying to convince something, we're trying to get them to believe something we're saying, and to think in a certain way and encourage or persuade readers. Well, we know persuade also means to convince. Okay, so that we want people to understand and believe what we are believing and encourage them to think the way we are thinking. And some signal words you can use, we've talked about these. I think, I believe, I feel, you should, in my opinion, it seems to me, I prefer, you should not. Okay, so you are going to be doing some opinion writing today. I'm going to read all the chapters to you because I am going to start to help you with it a little bit. So let's scroll down. I'm just going to go ahead and write this down if you'd like. If you don't want to, no big deal. Vocabulary for today. Assemble. Put together. So you assemble puzzles. You assemble new toys. I have been assembling different flowers in my backyard. I've been putting together flowers into vases. Suspiciously, with distrust. When you're suspicious of something, you don't believe them. You're thinking, something's wrong here. Something's fishy about these. So you don't trust them. Scowling. Frowning and glaring. You're very mad. This is what your face looks like when you're upset. Soothed is another word for comforted. When you were sad or scared, your mom soothed you and made you feel better. So go ahead and get these written down, everybody. Turn me back on when you're ready. I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller. And then let's go ahead into our quick write for today. So for your quick write, it says, write about something that you really believe in or something that you feel passionate about. This could be a cause, a purpose, or a social issue, a religious belief, or anything. Okay, so I'll tell you something I'm very passionate about is education for all students. And that students, no matter where they live or if they have a disability or not, no matter what, or if they're different from us or wherever we are in the world, every kid deserves to have a great education and deserves to have books. They deserve to have school lunches if they need them. They deserve to have a place where they can go to learn no matter what. No student should be not given the chance to go to an amazing school or have an amazing teacher, have a positive influence in your life. So that's something I'm very passionate about. What are you passionate about? What's something that you believe in, something that you think is super important to this world, and that if it got taken away, would really make our world a not so great place? Okay, so that's what I want to know today. What are you passionate about? Is it animals? Is it something about the environment? Is it something about food? Is it something about family? I don't know. Tell me. Okay? And we're getting right into reading today because I'm reading all the chapters. And then we're going to do an activity. I'm going to put you down. All right, so get your books. Let's get moving. All right, here we go. Finally. Julia and George take the pictures to the ring where there's room to see them all. An hour passes as they try to assemble my puzzle. Ruby's awake now, and she and Bob and I watch. Ivan, Ruby says, is that a picture of me? Yes, I say proudly. Where am I supposed to be? That's a zoo, Ruby. See the walls and the grass and the people looking at you? Ruby squints. Who are all those other elephants? You haven't met them yet, I say. Yet. It's a very nice zoo, Ruby says with an approving nod. Bob nudges me with his cold nose. It is indeed. In the ring, Julia pumps her fists in the air. Yes, she cries. I told you, Dad. There it is. H-O-M-E. Home. George gazes at the letters. He spins around to look at me. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Jules. You know, a once in a trillion kind of thing. Like that old saying about the chimp and the typewriter. Give him long enough and he'll write a novel. I make grumbling noises, as if a chimp could write a letter, let alone a book. Then how do you explain the rest of it, Julia demands. The picture of Ruby in the zoo. How do you know it's a zoo, George asks. See the circle on the gate? There's a red giraffe in it. George squints and tilts his head. Are you sure that's a giraffe? I'm thinking more along the lines of a deformed cat. It's the logo for the zoo, Dad. It's on all their signs. Explain that. George gives her a helpless smile. I can't begin to. I'm just saying there has to be some logical explanation. Look how big this is. Julia puts the last piece of Ruby's right ear into place. It's huge. It's definitely large, George agrees. Julia watches me. She chews on her thumbnail. I see the question in her eyes. She turns back to the paintings and stares at them, truly looking. A slow smile dawns on Julia's face. Dad, she says, I have an idea. A big idea. Julia races around the edge of my paintings, her arms spread wide. Billboard big. I'm not following you. I think this is meant to be on a billboard. That's what Ivan wants. George crosses his arms over his chest. What Ivan wants, he repeats slowly. And you know this because you two have been chatting? Because I'm an artist, and he's an artist. Uh-huh, says George. Julia clasps her hands together. Come on, Dad, I'm begging you. George shakes his head. No, I'm not doing that. No billboard, no way. I'll get the ladder, Julia says. You get the glue. I know it's dark out, but the billboard's lit. Mac will fire me, Jules. Julia considers. But think of the publicity, Dad. Everybody would know about Ruby. You want me to put up a sign that shows Ruby in a zoo with the word home on it in giant letters? George gestured toward my pictures. A sign, incidentally, that just happens to have been made by a gorilla? This is getting crazy. Exactly. And you want me to do it without Mac's permission, George asks. Exactly. No, George says. No way. Julia goes to the edge of the ring, careful not to step on any of my paintings. She picks up Mac's claw stick. She walks back and hands it to her father. George runs a finger along the blade. She's just a baby, Dad. Don't you want to help her? But how would it help, Jules? Even if lots of people see Ivan's sign, it doesn't mean anything's going to change. I'm not exactly sure yet, Julia shakes her head. Maybe people will see the sign and they know this isn't where Ruby belongs. Maybe they'll want to help too. George sighs. He looks at Ruby. She waves her trunk. It's a matter of principle, Dad. Principale. George corrects. L-E, George corrects. Dad, Julia says softly. What if Ruby ends up like Stella? George looks at me, at Ruby, at Julia. He drops the claw stick. The ladder, he says quietly. It's in the storage locker. Oh my goodness! I can't wait to find out what happens. The next morning, I watch Mac's car slam to a halt in the parking lot. He leaps out. He stares at the billboard. His jaw is open. He doesn't move for a long time. Uh-oh. Mad human. A mad gorilla is loud, but a mad human can be loud too, especially when he is throwing chairs and turning over tables and breaking the cotton candy machine. Phone call. Mac is kicking a trash can across the food court when the phone rings. He answers it, red-faced and sweating. What the? He demands. He glares at me. I don't know what he starts to say, but then he stops to listen. Who? Julia who? He asks. Oh, sure, George's kid. She's the one who called you? More talking. With the phone to his ear, Matt comes closer to my cage, eyeing me suspiciously. Yeah, he says. He pants. Sure. We've been selling his art for quite a while now. There is another long pause. Yeah, absolutely. It was my idea. Mac nods. A smile starts at the corners of his mouth. Ooh, he's starting to get evil. Evil. Photos? No problem. You want to see him in action? Come on down, have a look. We're open 365 days a year. Can't miss us. We're right off I-95. Mac picks up the overturned trash can. Yeah, I think he'll be adding more pictures. It's a, what do you call it? A work in progress. When the call is done, Max shakes his head. Impossible, he says. An hour later, a man with a camera comes to take my picture. He is from the local paper, the one Julia called. How about you take one of me with the elephant? Max suggests. He drapes his arm around Ruby's back, grinning at the camera as the camera clicks. Perfect, the man says. Perfect, Mac agrees. Oh, so we get a little picture of what Matt looks like. A star again. A photo of my billboard is in the newspaper. Mac tapes the story onto my window. Each day, more curious people arrive. They park in front of the billboard. They point and shake their heads. They take photos. They come into the mall and buy my paintings. While visitors watch, I dip my hands in fresh buckets of paint. I make pictures for the gift shop and pictures to add to the billboard. Trees with birds, a newborn elephant with glittering black eyes, a squirrel, a bluebird, a worm. I even paint Bob so he can be on the billboard too. I can tell he likes the picture, although he says I didn't quite capture his distinguished nose. Every afternoon, Mac and George add my new pictures to the billboard. People slow their cars while they work. Drivers honk and wave. My gift shop pictures now cost $65 with a frame. Whoa. The Ape Artist. I have new names. People call me the Ape Artist, the Primate Picasso. I have visitors from morning till night, and so does Ruby. But nothing's changed for her. Every day, 2, 4, and 7, Ruby plods through the sawdust with Snickers on her back. Every night she has bad dreams. Bob, I say after I've soothed Ruby to sleep with a story, my idea isn't working. Bob opens one eye. Be patient. I'm tired of being patient, I say. Interview. This evening, a man and woman come to interview Mac and also George and Julia. The man has a large and heavy camera perched on his shoulder. He films me as I make my pictures. He films Ruby in her cage with her foot roped to the bolt in the floor. Mind if I take a look around, he asks. Mac waves a hand. Be my guest. While Mac and the woman talk, the cameraman walks through the mall. He pans his camera right and left, up and down. When his eyes fall on the claw stick, he stops. He trains his camera on the gleaming blade. Then he moves on. The early news. Oh boy, what's gonna happen? Mac turns on the TV. We are on the early news at 5 o'clock. Bob says, don't let it go to my head. There we all are. Mac, Ruby, me, George and Julia, the billboard, the mall, the ring, and the claw stick. Signs on sticks. In the morning, several people gather in the parking lot. They're carrying signs on sticks. The signs have words and pictures on them. One has a drawing of a gorilla cradling a baby elephant. I wish I could read. Oh boy. Protesters. More people with signs come today. They want Ruby to be free. Some of them even want Mac to shut down the mall. In the evening, George and Mac talk about them. Mac says they're protesting the wrong guy. He says they're going to ruin everything. He says, thanks for nothing, George. Mac stomps off. George, holding his mop, watches him leave. He rubs his eyes. He looks worried. Dad, Julia says, looking up from her homework. You know what my favorite sign was? George asks. Which one? The one that said, elephants are people too. George gives her a tired smile. He goes back to work. His mop moves across the empty food court like a giant brush painting a picture no one will ever see. Check marks. I couldn't read that for a second. A tall man with a clipboard and pencil comes to visit. He says he is here to inspect the property. He doesn't say much more, but he makes many check marks on his paper. He looks at my floor. Check. He examines Ruby's hay. Check. He eyes our water bowls. Check. Mac watches him, scowling. Bob is outside, hiding near the dumpster. He does not want to be a check mark. Free Ruby. Every day there are more protesters and cameras with bright lights. Sometimes the people carrying signs shout, Free Ruby! Free Ruby! Ivan, Ruby asks, why are those people yelling my name? Are they mad at me? They're mad, I say, but not at you. A week later, the inspecting man comes back with a friend, a woman with smart, dark eyes like my mother's. She has a white coat on and she smells the lobelia blossoms. Her hair is thick and brown, the color of a rotten branch teeming with luscious ants. She watches me for a long time. Then she watches Ruby. She talks to the man. They both talk to Mac. The man gives Mac a sheet of paper. Mac covers his face. He goes to his office and slams the door. Last chapter. New box. OMG. Something strange is happening. The white-coated woman is back with other humans. They place a large box in the center of the ring. It's Ruby-sized. And suddenly I know why the woman is here. She's here to take Ruby away. Oh my goodness. It worked. It worked. It worked. It worked. Oh, I'm so proud of Ivan for keeping up all the work he was doing to save Ruby, because I think it's going to work. But I'm worried. Is Ivan going to be saved? So let's go back to our question here. I just want to help you with this one a little bit. So opinion writing. Do you agree or disagree with the protesters? Explain your reasoning. Okay, so let's think about this. And we got to use some of our words too. So I'll go back to that page. And do you agree or disagree with the protesters? I 100% agree. So I'm going to go back and show you guys the poster. I would start it out by saying, in my opinion, I agree with the protesters and what they were saying. I would continue by saying, I feel that elephants are also people, and that Ruby and Ivan and Bob should be taken to a new home, like a zoo, so they can be taken care of. You should not keep an elephant or a gorilla that size in a cage forever and ever, right? So what are your ideas? Tell me what you want to write, and use those sentence starters, those signal words, because that will really, really help you. Good luck, everybody. Can't wait to hear.